Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. I am your host, Daniel Atai. Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigerian. I am Daniel Atai. Today, we are going to look into citizens' participation in democracy and especially electioneering processes. This is because citizens and the civil society are the essence of democracy and democratic institutions. Of course, we are still on democracy and the Fourth Republic in Nigeria. There is no way we talk about institutions like the electoral bodies, namely INEC and CIEC, as in the case of Nigeria, or better still, electoral umpire, state independent electoral commissions, political parties, and their ideologies, manifestos, without talking about the citizens' participation in the whole processes. Some reference points for this topic would be the Edo, Ondo, and later Oyo State's coming elections. But aside those, it is important for citizens to know how to participate and make electioneering processes and our democratic evolutions germane and interesting. We have in the studio a renowned behavioral therapist and a coach, a civil affairs analyst that will do justice to the topic. Meanwhile, we take a short break, and when we come back, he will be doing justice to the topic on discussion. Please stay tuned.
The issue here we have to begin to look at is that at the time of independence, I don't know if there was a trajectory to where we are going to.
But how could it be that credible, free and fair under manual conduct of election?
That is where our problem lies, and that is why people are now saying that, advising that we should move, that the world has gone into digital. We should move from the manual to the digital.
We cannot keep doing same thing and expecting a different result.
The only way you create jobs from your ministry is that you have to encourage local content.
If you look at the profile of Sally Mama,
there is a caveat in this leave given to him. He should seek medical help if he's fine.
Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. Welcome back. With me in the studio is a great personality, Mr. James Komolafe. Mr. James Komolafe is a behavioral therapist and author of many civil and social books. He is a great socio-political affairs analyst and also a behavioral coach.
Yes.
Mr. James Komolafe, you're welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigerian.
Thank you so very much. Good to be here.
All right.
At this time of COVID-19 pandemic.
All right. Before I and you go into this discussion, I want us to take a preamble about the topic on discussion. This is the democracy in the Fourth Republic, though.
Wow.
We are looking into those processes where civil societies and citizens can participate effectively to make democracy a germane thing or interested stuff to participate
interest.
Interest. So we'll give you the preamble right now and stay tuned as you watch it. And when we come back, our coach here will be dealing with the analysis with you. It is not enough to work only on setting up democratic institutions and processes. These institutions and processes must be put to work, creating enabling opportunities for citizens to lead healthy and productive lives. Ensuring that government actually works for the public good requires informed, organized, and active, peaceful citizen participation. Citizens must therefore understand ideas about citizenship, politics, and government. They need knowledge to make decisions about policy, choices, and the proper use of authority, along with the skills to voice their concerns act collectively and hold public officials, that is, elected representatives, civil servants, and appointed leaders accountable. The term citizen has an inherently political meaning that implies a certain type of relationship between the people and the government. Citizens have a set of rights and responsibilities, including the right to participate in decisions that affect public welfare, that is, insisting on infrastructural and social amenities, participating actively in voters' registration and awareness. In addition to the intrinsic democratic value, participation is an instrumental driver of democratic and social economic change, and a fundamental way to empower citizens. Emphasizing locally led issue-driven approaches, citizens must ensure programs that focuses on citizens organizing around their interests and taking actions throughout the political cycle to open, access, and occupy political space, which are created or follow that of National Democratic Institute, which recognizes that citizens-centered activism driven by real community needs and desires is a powerful transformative force. Civil society organizations are a vehicle through which citizens can aggregate their interests, voice their preference, and exercise the power necessary to affect sustained change. However, this requires civil society organizations learning to work together and to play a variety of complementary political roles that include acting as watchdogs, advocates, mobilizers, educators, researchers, intermediaries, and policy analysts through technical and financial assistance. And this is what we need in our fourth democratic republic in Nigeria right now to make our democracy actually the voice of the people. Welcome back. That was a preamble, Mr. James Komolafe.
Interesting.
Thank you very much. And we'll begin like this. We looked into the electoral umpire 2 days ago, which is the INEC and the SIEC.
Yeah.
We also looked into political parties' ideologies. And now I want to look into citizens' participation. We are x-raying the democratic institutions and how our democracy, especially in the Fourth Republic under President Muhammadu Buhari now, and the federal government of Nigeria could actually drive it like people-oriented democracy. So how would citizens and their votes count in election? Let me begin from there.
Wow. Such a germane issue, especially at this time.
Exactly.
And suffice it to say that Nigerian democracy, it's a growing democracy, and we are still trying to get it right.
Yeah, after 21 years.
After 21 years, you've seen some other climb who have practiced democracy for 200 years and all of that. It's not cast in stone still, or rocket science, still working at it. Our democracy is thriving, and we are doing the little we can, except that there is a great vacuum that must be filled, a room for improvement.
Okay.
Popular democracy here, it's something else. I'm looking at a time where democracy will actually be what it is. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Yeah.
Meaning the whole of the paradigm should begin with the people. So whoever must come to leadership should come with the mindset of trust, service, down the line, hook, line, and sinker to the people. When the people's mind, feelings, emotions, it's not captured, then that is the beginning of problems as far as leadership is concerned. So it suffices to say that whatever we are doing politicking, we must begin from the grassroots. We must be able to tailor-made whatever the interest, the desires, from bottom up, we must be able to align it with what happens at leadership. It shouldn't be something where the citizens will just be left cap in hand saying, what do they have for us? Let's see what we are going to get from this and that. And all they come to do is to come and tell us their manifesto and all of that, promise heaven and earth, and do all of those dancing across board.
Yeah.
For which after 4 years, they come back to roost again. So we like to say we should sue for a democratic process that is engaging, involving, and that is giving a sense of value and hope to the society in general. So whether from the political parties themselves, the people who are incumbent, and then people who are aspiring to leadership. I would like to say people must be allowed to participate. The template must be the one that favors every individual who wants to express himself to come on board to participate. If we have an environment that is conducive, politically conducive, economically conducive, and everything is conducive, then we can begin to say, okay, we're starting from the baseline. So it's very vital.
Yes, sir. Let me bring you back to the question.
Yes.
If we are actually waiting for the environment, conducive environment, there are some institutions that the government has put in place
in order to effect that.
Yeah, in order to effect that.
Yes.
Like, let's still talk about this INEC voters registration,
the procedure, and all of that.
Yes.
Trying to practice Western democracy and the rest, but we like to say that this is Nigeria. So we should put everything within our own context and see what we can frame for a framework, given the structures on ground, the INEC and the CNEC at the state level and all of that.
Yes.
We like to say, INEC has been configured to carry out its mandatory responsibility. That is good, that is okay, but there is still a great deal of this vacuum for political sensitization and education.
Okay.
That's not to say INEC is not doing much through their own paraphernalia and through their own various institutions, but we're saying they will have to do more to sensitize the public. For example, you can't participate in the political process if you are not a registered voter.
Okay.
And that's why by the Electoral Act as amended, every citizen who is 18 years and above should register. In case they miss the last registration at the last exercise, they are supposed to register now, and then that will pre-qualify them to participate in election process. So we need to sensitize the society and the public over that, so that you will know that you don't have a say if you are not duly registered.
Okay.
And then from that point, society, interest groups, and various pressure groups and public affairs intimation should come up where people will really be able to cascade their opinions together and have clustered ideas,
Okay.
which should lead to politicking.
Okay.
I'm trusting and believing that in no distant time from now, we will have ideas, interests that are clustered, and from their vested political parties will come up, direct, hook, line, and sinker, without seeing, who will be able to say, we've trusted you enough. We've known your antecedents, we know what you stand for. Please go and represent us.
Okay. So then the people's vote will
will
count.
begin to count. It must be a bottom-up approach,
Okay.
not imposition. Not, oh, this is our candidate, Omowani is our son, let him do it. This is the person. Talking about party recognizing somebody or anointing somebody to just go and get them imposed on the citizenry will do much damage to us than trying to package the society for better governance. So it should be something that should be bottom up, where the interests of the people are truly represented and their views are taken into consideration.
And what would you advise the electorate, especially those who don't even have voters card and who believe that INEC is not doing enough to sensitize them about voters registration? I hope you are aware that as we speak, voters registration is ongoing in the various local government headquarters.
Of course.
And people, not much awareness is given because of maybe it is when election is closer that people think to say, okay, let's go and do registration, get our voters card in order to be able to vote. What advice do you have for them, people that think like that?
Well, I like to say, oh, it's bad, politics is bad, and it's bad, and you don't participate. It's also an error.
Okay.
So it's very vital. You go out there, you are a citizen, and it is your obligation to vote in whoever you want to govern you. Leave the others. Do your best and leave the rest.
Okay.
Do your own part of it. Make sure you have your voter's card intact. You've not registered, maybe by reason of one thing or the other. Please register and be prepared. And then political bourgeois too should try as much as possible to minimize on flamboyancy.
Okay.
Intimidating lifestyle, a lifestyle that makes politics a do or die affair. No, we don't need that now.
Okay. Anyway, thank you. When we'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll x-ray your opinion as regard Edo and Ondo and forthcoming your state elections, and how we could carry out these voting processes under COVID-19.
Thank you so very much.
We'll take a short break, and when we come back, James Komala is still in the studio to help us to analyze the prospect from Edo and Ondo elections, forthcoming elections. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. We are still talking about citizens' participation in electioneering processes in our fourth democratic dispensation in Nigeria. And Mr. Komolafe, James, is with us in the studio, a behavioral therapist and a coach who can actually coach and teach political analysis and behavior. So we'll look into Edo and Ondo elections that are forthcoming and the power tussles that is being outplayed there will this tussle make the people's vote to count? And if not, what will the people do? Mr. James, back to you. Now, you have seen the drama between Shomole, the National Party chairman of the All Progressive Congress, and his godson, who is the governor of Edo State, of Basiki. As we speak, just some few hours ago, Basiki has, resigned from the party, the APC, seeking perhaps the ticket of the PDP in order to go for his second term, another 4 years in office. The people are in the center of these things, of this whole drama that is being outplayed. Now, what will actually count? Is it going to be the power and the magnitude of Oshomole, or the power and the magnitude of Obaseki, or better still, the vote of the people?
Well, it's quite unfortunate that we're having it the way it is. That's why I say our democracy is a maturing one, a developing one, for which this ought not to happen in the first instance, because it's all about, if it is in actual fact, is about service to the people. What is happening now shouldn't have happened. It's sat for 4 years, and why is it at this time we're having this? That's why a popular maxim says the egg is rotting at the head. So what happens at the head simmers down the whole system. So I like to believe that, well, maybe with divine intervention, they will have a means whereby they can sort out their differences, because at the end of the day, the people who are supposed to be served will end up being deprived, because there will be fear and apprehension in the society before that election will take place, and even during the election. So many camps and so many issues, and then you have all kinds of the side of the divide that will not make the environment conducive. That's where I started from, that we need a conducive environment to see that politics is not a do or die matter. No, if it is out there for service, then let's give the people service. Not about, we should begin to see the political parties and the divides as lines in all kinds of options just to reach the people and not ourselves. So I think when our leaders begin to get it right from this end, that you see that I'm in APC today or PDP tomorrow, is not really about myself.
Yes.
It's about the people. So we're saying 6/12 and then 6. They are the same.
Exactly.
The same depending on how you approach it.
Exactly.
That's what we would like to encourage our politicians to see and to behave. Otherwise, when you create a toxic environment emotionally and physically for people, people will want to keep to themselves and save their lives first. And given the antecedents of what happened in the previous election in some of those places, you see, they are usually characterized with violence. We should begin to...
So likely people might not want to go out
because I won't go out there to vote, even when I have my voters registered and I've been authenticated to vote, and I know that the environment is not peaceful, I stay in my house. And that gives room for anything to just happen.
Like what kind of thing to happen?
Violence, all kinds of civil disturbances. You see thugs, you see some happy-go-lucky, trigger-happy security forces trying to defect and play one game or the other, which shouldn't be.
Incidentally, the security operatives are part of the electoral institutions too.
Yes, but they can easily be bought off if care is not taken, because it is where you have the cracks that the lizard will go through. So if we don't have a seamless flow of these systems and operation in place, then we are applying for chaos. on election days, and nobody, you say, there is no spare life, Daniel. That's what I wanted to know. No spare life. So
No
people
spare
will
life.
want to just keep to themselves and to say, well, whichever one they want to do, let them do. So that's why I said it's a whole gamut there for which the stakeholders should sit down and rethink and carry out the necessary political reform that will encourage people's participation, not just when it is time for election, but right from beginning. People will have a say, even while the leaders have their way at the same time, as they say.
Anyway, and one question that keep coming up in my mind is this issue of the parties, the campees, especially governors, finding it very easy to leave one party to the other with their followers decamping with them, without these various parties even saying, no, we don't want, we have our own ideology, we have our own members. Well, because they too are citizens. We're talking about citizens' participation.
Yes.
And is it that our political parties are only after power instead of, executing their political manifestos, parties' manifestos and blueprints?
One thing that is lacking, which is the lacuna in our political system, is that sense of ideology. It's not frequent in other climes to just see people living from one party to the other and all of that, and they just receive acceptability, hook, line, and sinker, as we have here. So
long as the money is involved and the power is also involved.
As is involved. When you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. So you see, when it is not about people, you can easily swerve and shift and cross carpet, and you still carry on. So it has become politics of intrigues, of power play, and not service.
And ironically, not service. And ironically, these same people that they want to govern, I'm talking from the perspective of both the national chairman of the All Progressive Congress and the incumbent governor. These people that they are about, or they are serving per se, in quote, the same people are also, firing the embers of divisions. They are also kind of participating negatively, causing this acrimony and disaffection between them. Do such citizens know actually that this power tussle will affect them?
In the society, you have the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay. That is why.
And that is why you are the coach of. You are the coach of the good, the bad, the ugly.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay. You have people who will say, until it is completely a clean terrain, I won't go there, which we may not see. And there are some who will say, well, let's see what we can do. We must devolve politics that is void of acrimony, of rancor, of bitterness, and see it as a game, not as a war. But if you want to flaunt politics of war, then good people will not want to participate. So that's why it's important to redefine their political space. And then the political actors too should stand up and out just for service, not for accumulation, but for contribution. See, you either live for contribution or live for accumulation. If your mind is hard-bent on what you can get out of politics, then you can't lead the people. Because the essence for which you want to offer yourself for service is to say, see, I'm selfless and I'm prepared to just serve. And service takes sacrifice. It takes accommodating the people. It takes having the people's feeling in mind and going in to do their bidding. But if your mind is not that, then anything goes. And that's why you see it's been a repetitive tendency after 4 years. So you go out there to do the campaign, you talk to the people, you give them rice, you give them 5,000, and mortgage their future.
Even 500.
500 naira. He will say, well, let me just take my own now. It has become a stale thing, a kind of an attitude. Let me take my own now.
Even less than 500, a bottle of a beer.
And little do they realize that you are simply being bought with 5,000 or 500 naira, and your destiny and that of your children is mortgaged already. And we call that politics. No, it's not politics, it's something else. So that's why you see very sincere people who will say, count me out when it comes to politics, especially when you see what is happening at the top.
Assuming
this thing is not encouraging going inside.
Officer.
Yes.
Assuming people avoid politics, the citizens avoid politics and participation, don't you think that the system could still bring out results? Assuming people don't go out to vote like in a donor, result will still come out.
Result will come out definitely, but people, it's only people who are alive that can even hear results. If you know that going out there, you are not sure whether you will come back, because you see, you don't know what will happen and what could happen. So that's why we'll watch and also pray and trust that everything will work out well, and at the end of the day, we'll have a leadership structure that will represent the interests of the people and serve the people.
Anyway, we'll take another short break, and when we come back, I want us to look at the national central system, where Shomole is coming from, and the state central system where the governor is coming from, or any other incumbent governor, like even in the case of Ondo State. Akerel Dolu is still coming back. He's still saying he wants to take a second term.
No governor will come the first time and say, I'm going. Even when they tell us that they are only coming for first time.
And then we have the former NMA chairman, Dr. Associate Professor Fadwile, trying to go for the Edo Ondo seat. And in this situation, we don't know whether there will be a kind of central power play at the state level, and a central system power play for the federal level. So that is what you are going to analyze.
There is more that meets the eye.
Okay, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, you deal with that for us, and then just within 5 minutes, then we can call it a day for today. Please stay tuned.
The issue here we have to begin to look at is that at the time of independence, I don't know if there was a trajectory to where we are going to.
But how could it be that credible, free and fair under manual conduct of election?
That is where our problem lies, and that is why people are now seeing that, advising that we should move, that the world has gone into digital. We should move from the manual to the digital.
We cannot keep doing same thing and expecting a different result.
The only way you create jobs from your ministry is that you have to encourage local content.
If you look at the profile of Salim Mama,
There is a caveat in this leave given to him. He should seek medical help if he's fine.
Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. Welcome back. And this is still Spectacle on Television Nigerian, and we are discussing citizens' participation in electioneering processes in our fourth democratic dispensation. And with me in the studio has been James Komalafe, a behavioral therapist, an author, and a social political commentator. Before we went on that break, sir, I was saying the power tussles, they have their own affiliates at the national level
and state level.
So the central system at the national level, Oshomole might be banking on it, and then talking about the entire system. And then the central system at the state level, the governor's power, the power of incumbency, he will still be banking on it that yes, this is his state, and what matters is his power and his ability to dish out funds. What could you say in that process that citizens' participation will be?
Well, it's a two-way traffic. When you look at the electoral umpire itself, I want to encourage that while we're watching the drama unfolding, the electoral umpire, INEC, should stay aside and must not dance to the tune of whether state or national or whatever, and just concentrate on its constitutional rules in just playing it fair, credible, free and fair, not biased over anybody. And we've had it before in this nation.
Yes, especially under this administration.
Where we've had it
where
before.
President Buhari don't even care whether
so
any state is going to carry.
Very vital. And then the presidency too should just wash her hand clean.
That presidency is setting.
What plays out.
The presidency is setting.
Whether the power tussle from the central or from the state is the one overwhelming or not, our mindset should be how best will the people's interests be represented, and to ensure that come what may, whether from PDP end or from APC end, has the people been served? Have they been truly served? Has their interests been truly represented? Those are the things we should look at. And then we should not forget that the current pandemic is no respecter of anybody. You should keep yourself emotionally intact, and then keep the social distancing, physical distancing, and then the hygiene protocols in place, because if you, under the euphoria of politics, you break some of those protocols, God forbid that you get infected, then you won't think of politics anymore. So while we are politicking, we should also know that we are responsible to keeping ourselves intact against COVID-19 pandemic, whether at local level, state level, or national level. The electoral umpire should not be biased. Let them play the game according to the rules, and they must come out with pure hands. Seamless communication of all the processes and procedure. The rec and every other person, whether at national level or state level, should be seen not to take side, whichever way, so that at the end of the day, we can say, oh, it is credible or not
free
credible,
and fair.
Free and fair, and it's representing the interests of the people. So COVID-19 pandemic is still very much out. Let's be very careful.
But unfortunately, the pandemic hasn't stopped the election.
Yes.
But the government is busy at the checkpoint blocking people's movement, and not even testing. Test kits are provided at the checkpoints. And what are those checkpoints meant for? They they stopped interstate traveling, and there has not been testing at all the interstate borders. So is it just to cause unnecessary traffic jam and so on, giving people much durex and so on? And they are going to election. If they are actually maintaining the ethics or the norms that they say NCDC say we should not carry out, would there be any election to participate at all in the first instance?
That's why the onus lies with the individual. To keep yourself, protect yourself, preserve yourself, and to ensure that
everybody is on their own.
everybody is on their own. That's why the ease of lockdown says, okay, you know the rules. Try as much as possible to keep the social distance. Wash your hand with alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Sneeze into your elbow. Wear your mask in the midst of people.
And then what can you say about the roadblock? If we know the rules and we can keep to the rules, and our roads are blocked, unnecessary traffic coming from maybe this nearby Maraba in Nasarawa State to just Nyanya here can take you up to 2 hours. You know, unnecessary checkpoint, no testing, no nothing. What you are an expert in that field. So what is the essence of the roadblock?
Well,
People are still moving despite.
Yes, I believe it's just some certain curtailment measure the leadership feels will abate the rate of infection and the flattening of the COVID-19 pandemic curve. But one thing we discover is that the gap between infection and detection keep widening by the day. And once that is in place, flattening the curve of COVID-19 pandemic will be very difficult. You will be seeing the graph picking up, and you are easing the lockdown. You see two contrasts. So that's why the onus and the responsibility is still on the citizens. That while you are trying to do politics, be sure that you keep yourself healthy and whole and not go beyond your bounds, and then keep to all the rules and protocol and maintain your hygiene. Boost your immune system and be sure that you are coping fine, because it's when you are fine you can look at politics, you can even look at livelihood.
Exactly.
If you don't have the life, there is no livelihood.
If I can ask your presumption with what we are playing Edo.
Yeah.
If I may ask you now,
Yes.
as an analyst and somebody who could actually
Examine people's behavioral patterns.
Yes.
And all that.
What could you predict or presume will happen if the election is meant to go free and fair? Will it go the APC side or the Obaseki side now, which is now the PDP that is?
So many factors could be responsible, because in this same country you have seen a free and fair and credible election that was accepted from the north to the south, irrespective of religious biases and what have you, that still came out the opposite way. So the whole thing is in the hand of God. So while we do our best,
why do you say
we should leave the
rest?
rest for God, because you see, there are so many things that happen behind the tube that we don't know about. You see, it could go free and fair. We could see that the terrain is even okay, but at the point of announcement, things could change. So that's why we should also know that there is an invisible hand over us all that decides who rules over people per time, which is the hand of God.
From the general behavioral characters you have seen and pattern.
Yes.
Do you think Oshomole will take the day or Baseke will take the day?
What?
Because you are a coach in
Well,
that you
just like I'm telling you that human behavior is unpredictable.
okay.
You could see from the ground that this is, or with this, no problem. Now, tell me, Daniel, have you seen any election in Nigeria that people don't go to court afterwards? Have you ever seen one? No matter what plays out, there are going to be aggrieved people. And that's why we should round up to say, see, this mentality of we won, they lose, should be out of our politics in Nigeria.
All inclusive governance.
It should be an inclusive governance. We
Both
should see
opposition
it as a game,
Okay.
so that the power of opposition will still be there, but we'll see cooperation more than just competition, confusion, and conflict here and there, and endless civil court cases in their thousands, up to Supreme Court and all of those things. We don't need it. If our mind is hell-bent on service to the people, to know that this is just a privilege and a trust vested to me to taking care of the masses and to ensure that the masses are served.
Thank you.
Not just that we go there for our own interest. Politics in the 21st century should be the one of a behavioral consequence that sees service
To the people.
and service down the line to the people as critical.
Thank you very much for coming on Spectacle.
Thank
Mr.
you so
James
very much.
Komolafe.
Good to be here.
Thank you. And this is where Spectacle will stop today on Television Nigerian. Do well to follow us on our social media platforms. And you can also hook up live with us on our website, www.tvn.news. Our Facebook handle is Television Nigerian. Search, like it, and click notifications so that our programs can always come to you live. Our YouTube channel is Television Nigerian. On Twitter, we are at TV Nigerian, and you can follow us. Thanks for watching, and I have been Daniel Atai. Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. I am your host, Daniel Atai.